As the facilitator in the debrief, our primary concern is creating a safe, non-judgmental atmosphere for people to express the thoughts, feelings, and symptoms that can emerge after an event. We base this on the critical incident stress debriefing model so that we can take it that step further and discuss healing, coping skills, available resources, and normalize what they've experienced so that they can go forward and understand this is a natural reaction to what is sometimes a very traumatic and unnatural event. So thank you guys for coming here today. My name is Erin O'Donnell and I'm a counselor. And along with me is Allie, who's a part of your peer support team. And we're coming together today to talk about what happened just the other day in the emergency room. I understand that there was a tragic loss, which I know you face frequently, but this one seemed to really hit home. So I want to take today and we're going to do a little bit of a debriefing of what happened. So the way that we start that is that first we're going to go around and I'd like for each of you to share just a little bit, a general overview of the facts based on your experience. So if you don't want to share, if you don't feel like that you can share today in the moment, that's okay. You can just pass and say that you wouldn't like to. So maybe we could start right here.
Sure. First, it was a pretty typical day in the ER, but we got a trauma call, and we found out that it was a drunk driving accident, and there had been a mom and a child who had been pretty severely injured. And I was responsible for taking care of the two of them, and it was just horrible. It was just terrible, and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't save them. I tried everything I could think of, and I couldn't save them. It was terrible, and then I had to go talk to the husband and tell him that they didn't survive, and it was just heartbreaking.
And for you, what would be the thought, oftentimes there's a thought that is the loudest in our heads at the time, or we repeat over and over again. What would be that first thought that you recall having that kind of salience or power?
I think it's just that this is so unfair. It's just, I mean, this mom and child were just driving along. They didn't think anything was going to happen, and now they're dead, and I couldn't save them. And it's a horrible feeling, and they didn't deserve this, and because of one person's choice, now their lives are gone, and her husband is just distraught. It's horrible. It's just unfair. It's all I can think in my head is it's just unfair.
So Iris, for you, could you maybe give us a little general overview of the facts of the experience that you had there on that day?
It's really hard for me because I'm new in this job, and for me it was very traumatizing, and it's the first time that I've experienced death and seen death with my eyes, and it was not one but two people and a little girl. So I prefer not to go into details as I'm still in shock right now. I can't talk
about it. So if you could share with us your experiences on that day.
Well, again, I'm probably one of the senior nurses in the ER. I'm also precepting Iris, and as you know, we go through this. It's not a common occurrence, but each one can really take a lot out of you. And so basically my role was to help her. We took care as a family, and then I also went over to take care of the man that caused the accident. And that's where emotions can get really strong too. I didn't take Iris with me because I felt there was enough going on.
And for you, what was the first thought or the strongest thought that you remember having or that repeated over and over in your head?
For me, being in the room with the drunk driver and hearing Melinda, I knew Melinda had just broken the news to the father, because there's this horrible scream that families do when they realize they've lost someone. And I think that's what truly has shaken me to the core of the auditory versus the visual. So,
The deep sensory.
yeah, I'm more
Both of you,
sensory.
sort of
Yeah.
the deep sensory piece. Yeah. As we go around, would you like to share the first thought that you had, that you remember having that sticks out in your mind, perhaps the loudest thought?
Oh, I can't talk about this. It's been, I don't think I'm ready for this.
I'll go make sure she's all right. Great, thank you. So Allie's going to go with Iris and offer her some support. While she's doing that, I'd like to continue on if that's okay with you.
Sure, of course.
I think for me it's auditory when Melinda had to go and tell the father that they both were gone, and there's something about that, how that families do, that carries with me. So I notice, like at home, if the TV's on and I hear laughing, I get real agitated, like how can you be laughing, right? You know, everybody has to, why aren't they feeling like I am? You know, that kind of, and also for Iris, because when that occurred, although I was near her, I almost felt mothering, like I wanted to spare her and I couldn't. So I think some of that's with me too, being her preceptor. How do I handle, besides myself, a young nurse?
You're worried for her.
Yeah,
It's very
yeah.
strong.
Because she's at a spot she's gonna be because it's so new, you know?
Of course, I wish you could do more and could reverse the course of time and somehow made it not happen the way that it did. That's a normal feeling. That's grief. You know, that's a part of the grief process. And you know, and it's important through this to come together, to talk, to share, to seek support if you need it, and also to do self-care. To know that that is okay, to do the self-care piece. So we've talked a little bit about some of the effects that can happen. What do you feel like for you has been the way in which this might be interfering with your normal life course? Maybe your sleep, maybe your appetite has changed. Maybe it's more challenging to engage in some of the things that you normally enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely am having trouble sleeping, but I feel like I can't do anything fun. Like I shouldn't be doing anything fun. You know, just like Sue said, she hears someone laughing and I, you know, it makes me mad, or I feel like I don't deserve to go to the movies or do something, you know, with my family that is fun, because I have a beautiful family still, and this family is now torn apart, and I feel like I can't be kind to myself in that way because somebody else has been suffering. It's just hard to get over that.
Hard to put that piece of self-care and make that okay again.
Right. Like it's hard to go have a good time when you were thinking about that and know that someone else is not.
Nice.
Yeah, I notice for me, I've learned in some ways to like not go to the mall or something too noisy. Again, I think for me it's auditory, that I tend to take walk. I try not to climb into a shell, like try to get out, but go for walks, take the car, go somewhere that I like to go that's not as overwhelming. So that, and just take that time. And I think allowing it to happen, I'm more prone to eating when I'm stressed. So making sure, you know, although I might want to eat, I've learned too to eat properly. So if I'm going to go on, you know, to try to comfort in that way. And to also know to help Melinda, it does get better, but it's there for a while. And I think the good part for me, I find coming to work, which I hope I'll be able to help with Iris, it almost feels like you're with the people who have been through it, so they understand. And my plan for Iris is to reassign us for a while so we're not on that trauma hall, and let her see a lot of basically normal events. Again, normal can change, but to regroup her, yeah.
Yeah, and what I like about what you're saying there, sometimes we do have to give ourselves permission to take a step back for a little time and do something a little bit different and focus to allow some of the healing to occur before we step back into the fire, as it were.
Yeah.
So why don't we take a moment and just kind of go around, because although it can feel very difficult to engage in self-care and to feel like that's a priority, it is important. It's a part of how you will move beyond this, and that's okay to move beyond this, because you do have family and other people to care for, and this is a tragic part of life, but it will get better. I want to keep you strong through that process. So what is something that you might do for self-care?
Well, I'm actually really glad that you mentioned, Sue, going somewhere that's not noisy or not a lot of people. I think that is one of the things for me, is I don't want to see other people being happy, and I don't want to, I mean, it's fine, but it just brings up that feeling that I should have done something to save this family. But going to a place that's quiet that I like maybe going on a walk in one of the parks near my house that I really like to do, that would be nice to be able to get out and bring my daughter and my husband with me, and then, you know, we can have a nice time together, but it doesn't have to be around all of these other people. And I think that's probably a good way to get started, at least.
What about you, Sue?
And I think what I think is a gift is that we have people like you now who come and let us have these feelings. And not to be Pollyanna, but I'm old enough to know how it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to couldn't talk about it, or you couldn't, and we were all struggling in our own little cocoons. And now, like, you know, for us to all be together with also our coworkers who maybe didn't come today,
Mm-hmm.
to keep checking in.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of my self-healing. Like, I feel like I hope to check in on people and make sure, and I know, you know, life gets better, but the tools given to us helps, because you don't know no one knows how to act. And I think you scare yourself. You think, am I all right? You know.
So for you, it's social connection.
Yeah.
And that is an important piece, as much as sometimes we might want to go into that cocoon, as you said, trying to stay connected and be of support to each other. And part of your support network here is your peer support team, which, you know, Allie is involved with, and you have other members, and those are a great resource for you to go to for support. And I have their brochures here. I'll make sure to give one to Iris. And you have my contact information, so you can reach out for your own individual support in a confidential way. And you can also seek out your peer support members who are in the trenches with you and can have that conversation. Any final thoughts or questions?